Okay, good morning all. So this is the second session in the 4-session series, and today we'll be discussing about answer writing skills, right? So this will be helpful for both people who will be writing mains this time and also for the people who are preparing for next year prelims, right? So in this session what I would be doing is that I'll be going through this basic objectives, that is basics of answer writing. See, what are the basic components or else like basic understanding you should be having before writing the answer. So there are few terminologies like, for example, context, contextualization, content, demand, subparts, and then few of the keywords is present. So what are those and how we can utilize that, or else how we can modify those answers utilizing these keywords. So that will be the focus of this session, right? So that is one. Then as I told you, like keywords, that will be discussed. Then art of introduction and conclusion. See, most of the time students feel that this is a technical subject, so like bringing this current affairs into the answers, and also let's say this thing concluding the answers, or else like introducing the answers, then it will be really tough, because considering it is a technical subject, to give diversified introduction and conclusion, it would be tough. But today I'll be showing you like what are the ways in which you can start these answers and do this introduction and conclusion. Next one is do's and don'ts of answer writing. That is, what are the important like mistakes students often do. So that will be covered, and what is the right way to answer this questions, that will also be discussed, right? And in the end we'll be discussing this PYQs. So I have taken like somewhere around 20 PYQs. So we will be discussing that in the class itself, right? So that is to say, I'll be telling you how to introduce the topic, how to like do this transition from this introduction to the body of the answer, how to like move smoothly, and how you can like prioritize your content, what should be the flow of the answers. All those things I'll be telling you with this discussion of the PYQs, right? And if you have any doubt like regarding last session or else like today's session or else in general with respect to preparation, so this is my Telegram ID, so at KRTP12. So you can reach me in this Telegram ID, so then I'll be helping you out, right? Okay. With this, then we'll start this today's session, right? So basics of answer writing, right? See, answer writing, it is not like an insurmountable task. So most of the students have this fear. So I'm just a beginner. So I'm just trying to revise the things. I'm just like making this content. Once the content is done, then I'll be focusing on like answer writing. Or else, let's say for example, once like my notes is ready, then I will revise and then I will be writing the answers. Believe me, if at all this is your ideology, then it would be tough. Because see, here the thing is that you have to start writing. So let's say for example, in the beginning the answers might be sound like immaturish, or else let's say for example not very good. So the thing is that you have to proceed with that only. So that would be the starting point. So if you are like keeping that part of answer writing just to the end of this like notes making and all, so never this notes going to be like 100%, and never you will feel this comfortness to write the answers. See, answer writing, you have to accept that in the beginning phases always it is uncomfortable. So once you have the hang of it, like okay, I have written like 10 questions, then you will have this idea, okay, this is how it is. Then you start focusing on like answer writing, then that would be much better for you. Clear? Right. With this we'll come to this basic concepts. Okay, so in basic answer writing, first I will let you know this UPSC notification, right? So which is the best document like every aspirant should be reading. But essentially like most of you like wouldn't have even read the notification. So here what I have to do is that, what I have done is that, see, with respect to like mains answer writing, they are given clear instructions. If you are like violating them, there will be negative marking. So what are those instructions that I have taken here? So this is one of those things, right? So candidates should note that if any irrelevant matter, so irrelevant matter, signages and marks, etc. Are you getting? So marks in the sense it is not like 1, 2, 3. Marks in the sense like religious marks, like people will be writing this Om, or else they will be writing this cross. So all those things is not permitted. So throughout your answer copy, so nothing of your personal identity, nothing of your religious identity, nothing of your biasnesses should be like reflected in your answer copies. If at all it is there, then if you can like see here, they will impose a penalty. So there will be penalty, there will be deduction of the marks. So that's why it is much better to focus on the demand of the question, address the demand, but don't go into this irrelevant matter. So whatever the demand of the question is there, try to address it and don't go like out of this answers context, right? So that is one important thing. So they will be deducting the marks for that also, right? Next one is, okay, this legibility. Yesterday also I told you like in brief. You see, legibility is very important here. So if you can read here, if a candidate's handwriting is not easily legible, a deduction will be made on this account from the total marks otherwise accruing to the candidate. Right? Rohan? Rohan? No, what is your name? Nishan. So you want to like sit for agriculture? Yeah, please sit. Okay. So if you can see here, as I was telling you, so if a candidate handwriting is easily legible, sorry, not easily legible, then there will be deduction of the marks. I told you like yesterday only, that is to say, like legibility doesn't mean like textbook sort of thing. If at all it is not easily readable to the like evaluator, then definitely there will be deduction of the marks. So just for you see just now it has started. So I am doing this basics of handwriting. Right, sorry, basics of answer writing today. So here I will be telling you like the UPSC instruction which they have mentioned, what should be your approach. So first one, as I told you, this thing, what is that? Irrelevant content, or it's like religious identity, or it's your personal identity, those sort of things, if at all you are going to write, then there will be deduction of marks for that. Second one, if at all the legibility, it is too irritating, and also like things which you have written doesn't make sense, then there will be negative marks for that. The marks will be deducted for that, right? So marks will not be allocated for mere superficial knowledge. So this is very important, because students often think like, okay, if I read this general agriculture, if I write in like GS oriented answers, then I'll be getting the marks. But UPSC itself has clearly mentioned, marks will not be allocated for mere superficial knowledge. So they demand at least like a concrete understanding of the topic, and then you should be like listing down or else like explaining the concept in brief. So that is what the demand. So if you are just like representing whatever the things in a superficial way, then definitely there won't be good marks for that, right? That is one. Next one. So these words are very, very important. So focus here. So credit will be given for orderly, effective, exact expression combined with due economy of words. So what is this orderly? So orderly means, let's say for example, if I ask this POP, right, package of practices. So from where you will start? Your name? Nishan. So from where you will start for this package of practice, if at all the question is there? No. So usually people will start from this land preparation, that is correct. But after that suddenly they will be saying about this fertilizer recommendation, they will be saying about some other thing. But important thing is that there should be an orderly representation, that is start from land preparation, then give this thing, what is that? Climatic condition, then soil conditions, and then this hybrids, what are the suitable hybrids, then the seed treatment. After that you go for this irrigation management. After that you go for fertilizer management, after that pest and diseases. If you follow this sort of order, it will be like sort of story. So that is what orderly representation. Next one is effective and exact expression. That is important, because often what will happen is that student will give this definitions, but that definition will be like very generalistic thing. Even a layman can write those definitions. Here what is this effective and exact representation means? So whatever the, let's say the holistic meaning is that should not be altered, plus there are certain terminologies. Let's say for example tillage. Are you from agriculture background? No. Okay, fine. So you would have heard about this tillage. So in tillage, the basic objective of the tillage is to prepare the seed bed. But there is one terminology which has to be in this definition, that is tilt. TILTH. So if at all student is missing out on this, like the terminology, then that exact representation won't be there. Somewhere the meaning would be fine, but that exact representation won't be there, for which there will be like consideration will be there. Okay, this is not good, then they will give this average marks. So that's why orderly, effective and exact expression. After that, due economy of words. So due economy of words means, let's say for example, in the question paper only they would have mentioned like 150 words, 250 words. It doesn't mean that you have to like keep on counting like number of words you have written. So the main thing is that, let's say, okay, organic farming, a question is that. So organic farming, let's assume that you have read very well and you have like very good content. Now what will happen is that you will try to write everything you know on the paper. But essentially, let's say for example, 15 marks means 3 pages will be there. Now in these 3 pages, how you should be presenting is that basic concept. Okay, what exactly is organic farming? The principles of it, the practices. That would be enough. But most of the times what students will do is that they will put this advantages, disadvantages, government schemes, policies, everything. So that looks very much like cluttered, like sort of dump. So that sort of thing should not be there. It should be legible, it should be clearly visible. If at all you are going to that extent of like putting everything into the answer copy, then there will be negative marks. So you should not compromise on the aesthetics of the answer, that is how good it is looking. So what is the demand of the question, you are addressing that. So those are important rather than dumping all the content into it. Are you getting? So that's why, so orderly, effective, exact expression plus due economy of words. So this is exactly which is given in this UPSC notification itself, right? And another like few other things is there in the notification itself. So these things, that is to say, if in the question paper, so whatever, wherever it is needed, so SI unit should be used. See, let's say for example, few of the questions might come like calculation part, very rarely it will come. So once the weed index was asked, once this soil moisture estimation was asked, apart from that, like usually it won't be asked, but if at all it is asked, usually you have to give this SI units only. Don't give other units, SI units is important. Next one is usage of the scientific calculator. So if at all like they have mentioned in the syllabus, I mean in the what is that notification itself, like usage of scientific calculator is allowed, then you can take your own, but like using of others calculator will not be promoted here, right? So that's why, okay. So that's why you should be keeping your own this thing calculator. Clear? So these are the instructions given by UPSC itself. So keep these things in mind. Now, considering this is clear for you, so we'll be moving forward where I'll be telling you this basics of this answer writing. So okay, so this is the proof. If you can see here, so 25 marks was deducted as penalties from this 975 means he would have got like somewhere around 1000 marks. Now see, because of that he has lost his recommendation. If you can see here, not recommended. So you add that to this, definitely you would have been in the selection list. Are you getting? So that's why don't take this negative marks very lightly, right? That is one. And if you can see here, 5 marks was a negative and 1013. That is to say, for sure you would have been at least top 20. So 5 marks means definitely you would have been in top 5 or top 10. So that also, like every marks is important here. So that's why be aware of this negative marks. Clear? Okay. Now, so in the answer writing, I've been telling you from the beginning that address the demand of the question, address the demand of the question. So what is the meaning of this demand of the question? Let's understand that. Then we'll move forward to other parts of this answer writing, right? Okay. First one, demand. So if we can read the statement, sorry, question here, what are the various ways of value addition in fruits and vegetables? And this is for 20 marks. So what is the demand of the question here? Nitesh, right? Nishant, yeah. So what is the demand of the question here? Okay, that is fine, but what have you understood from it? What is that you will be focusing in the answer?
It's how to preserve the fruits and vegetables. If you are selling in the market, it will cost more less. But if you add something in that fruits and you make something different product,
correct.
So the value of that product will be more than that.
Correct. So here, correct. So here the main focus of the question, or the demand of the question is that you have to focus on this waste. Correct? Waste means it is the different types, different processes we have. For example, you know this, addition of sugar is one. Then we can go for this thing, what is that, jams, jellies, marmalades. So these are different types, and within this processing techniques, we have different things. For example, sun drying, again it is one sort of thing. Pickling, so it is one sort of processing. And then we have like mechanized forms, like conversion into like juice, conversion into this frozen products. So those are also like examples of this value addition only. Correct? So if you are aware of this food processing, basically there are two techniques for this food processing. One is called as like this thing, what is that? Manufactured process. In this manufactured process, what will happen? The raw material which will be there, it will be losing its original form and it will be converting into some other form. Like classical example, mango into mango juice. Now let's say in another form, other value added processes. So the exact raw material, it will be like that only. So within that, we are going to do this value addition so that the shelf life of that raw material, it will be increased. Right? So these are the ways, that basic understanding. So if we have understood like this, okay, the main focus here is the waste, and it is for 20 marks, and they have asked like fruits and vegetables. The mistake student make is that they will explain in general, but they will miss out on this fruits and vegetables as a different thing here. So because this is a 20 markers question and only base or else procedures is asked, so it is much better to classify the things. What are the methods we have for fruits and what are the methods we have for vegetables? If you divide that, then it will be easy for you to context the answer, because 20 marks, just divide like that, 10 plus 10. So 10 marks for this fruits, 10 marks for this vegetable. So that would be easy for you to manage the space and also time. If not, you will explain one method very much and you will not have space for answering other parts. So that's why, so understanding the demand. So okay, this is what exactly it is trying to demand, correct? But here, at least it was pretty straightforward question, very easy, because only one main demand was there, waste or else procedures. But if we can read this one, what are the reasons for low availability of phosphorus nutrient? Give an account of agronomic practices to improve phosphorus use efficiency for 20 marks again. And here, what is the demand of the question?
What are the reasons for low availability of phosphorus nutrient?
Okay. See, basically two demand is there, correct? So here just one demand was there, the procedures. But here you have to give the reasons why it is like low productive. Second thing is that how we can increase it. So now again, like if at all this is a case, two demands is there, you can divide the pages. See, if at all 20 marks means usually 4 pages would be there. But last year they had given 3 pages. So yesterday also I told you, like if at all you have like very much content for one particular thing, 3 pages means again it is tough. Because you have to like prioritize the content, you have to like leave out certain content and then you have to write. Or else let's say for example, if you have less content, then it will be advantageous because you can complete the paper earlier. Only 3 pages would be there. So depending on that, so consider let's say 3 or 4 pages would be there. Now 20 marks means like 2 pages for each topic and 2 pages you can give for low availability and 2 pages you can give for this agronomic practices for PUE, phosphorus use efficiency. So understanding this, it will clarify you, or else in the beginning only it will have like understanding from your point of view, okay, how much space I should be managing, how much time I should be giving for each aspect. If you are not focusing on the demand, if you are just getting the holistic understanding of this and start writing the answer, what will happen is that if at all 4 pages is there, 3 pages of only one dimension you are going to write and only half page will be written for some other part. So that is going to like not do the justice for the answer. So that's why demand understanding is very important, right? So this is one. Now let's see this. Here there are 3 parts, correct? One is definition of this evapotranspiration, how it is affected by various factors, and next one is briefly discuss the passive absorption of water. Now 3 demand is there, again this is for 20 marks. So if you can understand this, if you can bifurcate, even let's say for example, at least here it is like given in a simplistic way. The questions itself is divided, full stop is there, then you can understand it. So at times, let's say for example, India achieved this green revolution, so which resulted in increased food production, but now government is focusing on evergreen revolution. So what is the role of cropping pattern in achieving this evergreen revolution? Now it appears to be entirely a single statement, but essentially there are 2-3 parts in that. First you have to explain like what was this green revolution, what was happened in that, how that was successful, how that gave this food security, and then what is this green evergreen revolution and what is this cropping pattern, and interlink both of them. So that would be a little bit complex, but here at least it is straightforward. So 3 demand is there, so obviously definition you will be giving that. After that you have to like give this factors which is affecting that, and then you have to focus on this passive absorption. So what is the meaning of passive absorption? Here plant will not be spending the energy, right? The natural processes, for example gravitation, pressure differences, you would have heard about this what is that, Munch mass flow hypothesis or else pressure difference hypothesis. Like for example, this water, of course this thing, water is absorbed by roots, correct? So that absorption basically it has to happen against the gravity, but some energy has to be spent for absorbing that. So that energy, actually what is happening is pressure difference, the pressure within the root system and pressure outside the root system. So this, the water moves from low pressure to high pressure or else high pressure to low pressure. From high pressure to low pressure it will be moving. So that differences is what the passive absorption type. Are you getting? So this is the like demand of the question. So if you understand this, then it will be easy for you to bifurcate the things and like give accordingly time and space. Clear? This is one part, very important part, that is demand. Next one is subparts. So once you have understood the demand of the question, then you have to like think of this thing. See, demand is again important for you to write the conclusion and also introduction. See, what usually students do is that, let's say for example, we'll take this only. So one is evapotranspiration, second one is about passive absorption. So actually there is an interlinkage between both, correct? If at all evapotranspiration is more, then what will happen? Pressure difference will also be more, then plant will absorb more water from the roots. So this is what it is there. But while writing the introduction, what students will do is that, like of course here they have asked for definition, so you'll start it. After that, at least for transition you have to mention The knowledge of evapotranspiration will be helpful for us to quantify irrigation scheduling. Yes or no? Because once I know that, okay, this much of water is lost in the plant, then I have a fair idea that what is the pressure in this plant system. Then accordingly, I can decide this irrigation scheduling also. So that is what, so that sort of like interlinkages if you are providing, then it will be easy for you to conclude the answer also. But in the beginning, like students, what they will do is that either they will focus on just one aspect and they will forget about the second aspect. But introduction and conclusion, it should be holistic. So that's why this demand is important. So in subparts, subparts is mainly needed for you to bifurcate the space and time which you will be having. So practically speaking, for 15 marks, somewhere around 9.5 minutes you will be having in the mains examination. And for 10 markers, somewhere around 6 to 7 minutes. And for like 20 markers, somewhere around 10 to 12 minutes you will be having, right? So considering all these things, so subparts, as soon as you read the thing, like explain seed enhancement with its merits, describe in brief about the various practices used for seed enhancement. So though, see here another important aspect what you have to understand. So obviously like three components are there. One is about seed enhancement. You have to give the definition, what it is. Next, you have to give this merits, and then you have to explain that various practices. Though they have given in this order, in your answer, what should be the order? First, give the definition or its concept of this seed enhancement. After that, you give the practices, how we are doing this seed enhancement. After that, you go for merits. Even though if at all the order is not given properly in the question, definitely in the answer you can organize it. Because if I ask you like introduce yourself, first you will be saying your name, then you will be saying your age, then education qualification, parents, etc. So you won't be directly saying that my father is this. After that you will be saying your name. After that you will be saying something else. So there is an order. So that order you have to ensure in this answer also. So for that again the knowledge of subparts is important. So here like 1 subpart, 2, 3 subparts are there. And this is for 10 markers. And again the challenge is, see 3 aspects have been asked, sir. So I have like good content for this. Now how to manage this, correct? I will tell you one technique. See, for example, it is about like first half is about concept. What is seed enhancement? So next one is about describing this practices in brief. Now let's say for example, 10 methods or else let's say 8 methods through which seed enhancement can be done. Now obviously if you explain even like 8 methods in brief, like 2 pages would be consumed. Now the challenge for the students is about like management. Now what I would suggest is that like use like little bit of the space, give this flow chart in a bracket, I mean in a box, and in that flow chart mention that okay, this is like what is that seed enhancement, different techniques followed. After that take three major ones, seed enhancement techniques, explain them in brief. After that go for merits. So that is much better way to manage your space and give you content also. So most of the times what students will do is that they will try to dump everything they know into the answer. 10 markers, obviously 2 pages will be there, then they will compensate on this aesthetics, the looks of the answer. So that should not be done, right? Next one, what do you mean by hybrid seed production? Describe the different types of sterility system to facilitate hybrid seed production. So this is for 20 marks. Obviously we have like only 2 subparts here. One is about this thing, hybrid seed production. What is the meaning of it? Second part, we have like different sterility systems, right? CMS, CGMS, then temperature regulated one. So all those things, like 4 methods which is there, just explain those things in brief, and while explaining at least take one example. So this is like how we can do value addition to your answer. Because if you take like even Angro Tamil Nadu material, what is happening is that they would have given you the concept, what is it? But where exactly it is used, one example like okay, it is used in rice. But you take one hybrid which is developed using this CMS itself, and then mention that okay, this hybrid, this was the parentage and this is how it is developed. So that will make your answer much more specific. So that exact expression which I was saying in the beginning, so that will happen. Definitely that answer will be not like GS, it will be like technical answer, then you will be scoring little bit more marks. Clear? So this is subparts. Next one is content. See, there are certain questions where content is very important, and there are certain questions where like context is important. So what is context, I will explain in the next part, but essentially the content. So for example, enlist different Mendel's laws, explain this one particular thing. So here there is nothing but the concept, the content. If you know this segregation law, you can explain it and you give this diagram, give this checkerboard, then it is good enough. But if you don't know, then it is difficult. But there are certain questions, for example, let's say this thing, application of this Mendel's laws or its limitations is asked. So there, rather than the content, it is about like if you have understood the basics, then you can apply the concept and you can generate the content. Here you cannot generate what is segregation law. Getting? So that is the difference. So for few questions, of course, the content is king, but for majority of the question, it is understanding and application of the knowledge, right? So here, if you have, let's say for example, this is for 15 marks, right? So here 15 marks means 3 pages, so at least you should be giving somewhere around 90%, 95% emphasis for content itself. Let's say for example, even like Mendel laws is having limitations, right? It is not universal. If at all genes is having like linkages, then Mendel law will not be followed. So those sort of limitations that can be used in the conclusion. You can say, though the Mendel laws is like, given life to this genetics and all, but it is having its limitations, like, so that you can give in the conclusion. So that space, what I meant is like 5%. So 95%, it should be on the main demand and main content. Clear? So 3 aspects. One was demand, second aspect was subparts, third aspect was content, right? Now, another important aspect is context. So this context, actually, if you take this grammatical meaning, the parts of a discourse that surround a word or passage that can throw light on its meaning, right? In other words, let's say for example, when I say heterosis, so heterosis is the main demand, and whatever the content you are going to write in the answer, that should be giving meaning to that heterosis. And if you are writing something out of this heterosis, then you are going out of the context of the question. Are you getting? Do I have an example? No. So that is to say, let's say if the question is demanding that Mendel law only, and if you are explaining something else like chromosomal theory of inheritance, then that is bad. So you have to stick to the main demand of the question, and whatever the thing you are going to write, so that has to be contexted according to the demand of the question, right? So this is like usually the mistakes which I have seen from the students. So that's why I have taken like separate slides on this, and like at least you should be learning this today, right? If you are really thorough with this 4 concepts, believe me, like 50% of like theoretical knowledge about answer writing, it is done. And next part is like understanding, see, to be frank, what has to be done, especially with respect to answer writing, is that try to write multiple questions. See, especially if you have observed our question paper, 80 to 85 questions, or else 85% of the questions it will be repeated, first thing. Second thing is that majority of them are like this. First half of the question, either it will be concept based, like they will be asking the concept. Second half, they will be asking it for the application part. Let's say for example, this thing, integrated farming system. Okay, so they will ask what is integrated farming system, principles, practices. That is one part. Second part, they will be asking how that will be beneficial for small and marginal farmers, how that will be increasing the productivity of the system, how that will be promoting the sustainability of agriculture. That second part which is there, that practice will come from writing different tests. Because see, for example, even if I teach, like even any X person teaches you, the limitation is that we have like limited space, I mean limited amount of time. So there what will be the focus of us will be giving this content basic understanding. That application part, it will come by writing multiple times. So that's why writing practice is very critical here, right? So you got this idea of context? Yes. So 4 main parts, that is, one is, what is the first one? Content and then this context, right? So understand this, because this is going to be very critical, right? Okay. So these are the major like basics of this this thing, answer writing. Now I will be letting you know these keywords, because more than often you would have seen like at times explain would be there, at times elucidate, illustrate, narrate, give an account of. So if at all this sort of keywords is there, how you should modify your answers. So what should be your focus in the answer? So that I will be focusing a little bit here. Okay. First one is describe. So most often this word would be there in our optional paper. Okay. So whenever you see this sort of word in the like answer, your main focus should be on explaining this why and how aspect. That is to say, describe chromosomal aberrations. So that is to say, this chromosomal aberrations, what is the concept of it? What is the meaning of it? Then you have to explain how that is originated. What is the impact of it? And then how can we overcome these things? So these 3 aspects, if you are explaining, then this why and how aspect will be covered. So here it is main about like concept. Describe, if at all you are seeing, then the focus like 90% of the answer should be focused on explaining this concept. what are the subtypes of it. Then last, if at all space is there, then you can go for like validation, that is way forward, or else let's say for example bringing new innovations in heterosis, that sort of thing you can give in the end, but most of the answers should be based on the concept. I will give you one example. So if you can see here, describe contract forming in India and its relevance in the present scenario for 20 marks. So that is to say the first part, that is describe contract forming. So that itself is having the major weightage here. The present status or else like scenario in this Indian condition, that will be having like let's say 20 marks means 15 for that, 5 for this. So the 15 marks, majority marks will be for describing it. So what is it? What are the different types of contract forming we have? How that will be beneficial for the farmers? Are there any limitations in that? After that you can give this scenario. Clear? So that's why like understanding this keyword is very important, right? So that is describe. Next one is explain. So when the question is explain or like asking you to explain, there is no need for you to be like doing this critical evaluation, right? So critical evaluation is that you have to highlight both aspects. Like one is on the positive, negative, or else let's say for example this thing limitations or else advantages. That part you have to focus if at all critical evaluation is given. If at all it is just about explanation, make sure that the entire answer it is very in a simplistic way. Like technical terminologies would be there, but essentially it should not be very much difficult for anyone to understand. Even if at all a lay person is reading your answer, he should be able to understand it. So that is the meaning of this explanation. So this is the example. Explain the mechanism involved in breeding for resistance of pest. So here it is focus on mechanism. So you have to explain that. So what it is, how it is happening, what are the different steps we are following. So that is main about this explanation. So if at all some space in the end part it is there, then you can write about these limitations of this thing, pest resistance breeding. But 95% of the answer should be on this mechanism, explaining the different mechanisms we have. Clear? Right. So these two keywords. Then we have another one. So narrate. Yes. But it is asking for 20 marks. So simplistic way means it doesn't mean like in brief form. Simplistic way, let me say. Okay, I will give you an example. DNA is the genetic material. Explain the role of DNA in development of traits. So here it is about explaining only. But here, let's say for example, you can complicate the things like putting off like different this thing, what is that, scientific articles or different like terminologies. So what I meant as like simple is that, so okay, what is the component of this DNA? First give that. What is the concept of DNA? Okay, what are the components? Like nitrogen is there, phosphorus is there, nucleosides and nucleotides is there. So this is the basic composition we have. Next, what you have to do is that utilizing this, how the trait development will happen. Basically, trait means what? Character. So characters is gone by what? Genetic code. So for that genetic code, we have this AUG, methionine, etc., etc. That is basically done by this protein synthesis. For that, again, DNA is needed. Correct? So that sort of lucid explanation, simplistic explanation is needed rather than complicating it. So like a student, what they will do is that, okay, so protein synthesis will happen, characteristic development will happen, just in one word, so or else in one sentence. That is not going to give any meaning, because I want to put effort to understand what you are trying to convey. So that should not be there. What I meant is that easy explanation. So if I read whatever you have written, so even though I don't know the concept, I should be understanding it. So that is what I meant as like easy explanation. Clear? So here, simplicity, yes. So that is much better way. See, because if at all the question appears to be very fundamental and very subjective, then it is much better to go for like simplicity. Clear? Okay. Narrate. Again, this is one of the most used like word in our answers. So I will give you this example. For example, narrate the role of this genetic engineering in crop improvement. Now let's say for example, usually this narration, it will be attached to this word, that is story. Usually we say that narrate a story, a cinema is narrated. So that narration, why we are saying is that when you are narrating something, there will be proper introduction, there will be build up of something, then there will be proper conclusion. So that sort of like a story kind of thing is what we are expecting. So here we are asking like role of genetic engineering. That is to say, starting from how this genetic engineering started and how it is playing important role in crop improvement. You have to take that chronology. Then you have to explain, okay, one role is like within this crop improvement, identification of these wild genes, and then PCR, that is marker assisted selection, and then you can say GM modification. So that narration, like how it started, now how it is progressing. So nanotechnology, up to there you can go, correct? So that chronology is that flow, that is the main thing when it is about this narration. And you have to like give that clarity, okay, what is this genetic engineering? So that is the main focus of this narration. So flow of thoughts is important here, clear? Next one is what. So this is again like one of the most repeated one. So what is, it is clearly testing your technical knowledge, because I want to check whether you know this, cell division. What is cell division? Or else, let's say for example, what is this heredity? So that what means I am testing your technical knowledge. So give proper definitions and give like this thing, technical content in the answer, right? So we have so many examples. What are the various farm management tools in farm planning, etc. Like many are there. What. So this is the understanding you can have. Next one is elucidate and illustrate. So this, whenever it is there, make sure that you are going to utilize this flow charts, diagrams, or its procedures. So that is the meaning of this elucidate and illustrate. Clear? For example, if you read this Da Vinci books, you would have given this illustrations. Illustrations means you would have like whatever you are trying to convey in the next paper, in the diagram form you would have given. So that is what we are trying to ask you here, right? For example, illustrate with example abiotic components in the ecosystem and influence on the crop growth. So that illustration with examples, or else with diagrams, or else with flowcharts, or else with procedures, right? Again, this is one of the most repeated thing. Up to here it is clear, everyone, right? Okay. Next one is give a brief account of. So this is again like one of the most repeated things. So when they are asking this, we already know, like the question paper setter already knows that it is a very broader topic. So very broader topic, so I am not asking you to write everything in detail here. So everything in brief you have to mention. So that is the important thing here. So that broadness should not be lost, but at the same time you need not explain everything in detail. So everything should be covered in a brief way, correct? So that is the meaning of this, give a brief account of, clear? Right? So give brief account of major pest and diseases of mango. Because like n number of pest and diseases is in mango. If you go on explaining everything, that is not going to be like can be done in this examination hall. So that's why they are asked like brief account. So everything, every pest you have to cover, but in a brief way, correct? So that is this thing. Next one, okay, other types, like that is to say this brief account, etc. we have covered. Apart from that, we have some other types. See, for example, define and then give account of. So that two things is merged into one. So this merger is one of the concepts they are following. So then you have to like keep this in mind. Okay, what does this mean and how should I modify my answer? So that will make your answer much more specific. And another example, like choice of crops, cropping pattern is governed by this growing season. Critically comment. So critically comment means, okay. See, one way of understanding this statement which they are given, choice of crops, cropping system is governed by duration. So that is to say there are few other exemptions or else examples where this length of growing season doesn't matter. For example, this protected cultivation that is within this greenhouse. Obviously growing season doesn't matter there. So that is the example. So here what you have to do is that when you are like narrating this, you can justify for 60 to 70% of the answer saying that is choice of crops and cropping pattern, it is determined by length of growing season. But another 20-30 part of this answer, it has to be focused on, no, this is not like entirely dependent on this. There are other factors also where like we can go for different types of crops or else cropping patterns. So that is the meaning of this critically comment. Clear? But most of the students, they will be justifying the statement. They will justify giving like n number of examples, but at the end of the day, the word is critically comment. So that's why knowledge itself is not ultimate here. So for this, presence of mind. If you have been in the examination hall, so then if you are not reading this statement properly, then you will be losing the marks. Clear? Next one, differentiate. Again, this is one of the word usually you will get. So differentiate between saline and sodic soils and give an account. So this is again the merger. So give an account and differentiate. Next one, what are the components of drip irrigation? Enumerate the benefits of this drip irrigation. So this is for 10 markers. So see, enumerate means what? Enumerate, enlist, list out. So that is to say you have to just mention it. But the important thing you have to keep in mind is that you have to be smart enough to look at number of marks which is there for the question. Here, since it is a 10 markers question, even if you are just enumerating it, you are listing it, it is fine. But if at all the same question for 20 markers, though it will be saying as enumerate, you have to explain them in brief. So keep that in mind. Depending on the number of marks the question is having, you have to fix the strategy. So don't go with this, okay, n list is there, I will only list it. So that is not going to work. Clear? So these are the different keywords which will be used in the answer copies, and depending on that, how you should be modifying your answers. Clear? Right? Okay. So there are other questions. For example, keyword itself will not be there. So open-ended questions. So their student usually faces difficulty because, sir, what to write, what to leave. I know about that concept, but how much to write and how much to leave. So that is the difficulty. For example, biofortification, soil health card. So precision farming, greenhouse effect, global warming. Now let's say biofortification. So it is for 10 markers. Basically biofortification means what? It is a concept based question, correct? First you have to give the definition. Okay, in biofortification what we are doing? We are going to take this minerals, nutrients, etc. Then we are going to add to the food so that it will be biofortified, correct? So that one thing you give, and then immediately give one example. After that, what are the types or else methods we have adopted to do this biofortification? In the end, you can give advantages of it or else limitations of it. So then in the conclusion, you can say that via biofortification, we have this malnutrition, we have this child stunting, child wasting, so many problems are there. So that can be addressed via biofortification. Or else, let's say for example, you can combine these two current affairs. Let's say, 2023 is called as International Year of Millets. Now what you can do is that biofortified millets helps in promoting the India's export market, plus it also ensures the poor man's nutrition security. So that way also you can conclude it. So that is the as I said, current affairs, it is not very difficult to integrate here, but the way you are going to look at the current affairs, that is important. Clear? So that sort of introduction and conclusion you can give. Now let's say soil health card. So here first thing is that whenever I say any scheme or policy, first thing you should be knowing is that which is the ministry which is responsible for implementation of this, when it was introduced, why it was introduced, the objectives of it, and then you should be knowing the features. Every 3 years once this soil testing will be done, correct, and then 12 parameters would be there, correct. So those things you can give, and then they will give these recommendations to these farmers, and also you can see that this what is it, farmers, sorry, the youth farmers, they will be given subsidies for establishment of this soil testing laboratories. So those sort of things you can give in the details, and then in the end you can conclude it saying that though India is largest utilizer of this urea, but Indian soils are universally deficient in nitrogen. The soil health card will give us scientific way of management of this fertilizer status in the soil, correct? So that is also one way of conclusion. Clear? See, these things if I am saying this conclusion and introduction, it is coming in the flow. So why it is coming in the flow means I am not putting this effort to by hearting the things. So if at all you have understood the basics, what exactly is the soil health card, by integrating with some other concept you can arrive at the conclusion and introduction, right? Precision farming. See, precision farming here they have asked for 10 markers, but essentially the same question could be asked for 20 markers also. So now you have to alter your content which can be suitable for 10 markers, which can be suitable for 20. So that is the challenge. Here what can be done when 10 markers is there? First is definition, second one is that principles, third one is the major practices. So if you cover these three things, then you are explaining this concept. That is good enough. Even after that, if at all space is there, then you can go for advantages and disadvantages. But main thing is definition, principles and practices. So greenhouse effect and global warming. At least here two things is there. Now division of space is not tough. So one page for one and one page for one. So here again definition, why it is happening, what are the impacts. So same thing can be given for both. And in conclusion, you can give the solution. So rather than giving space for solution in each topic, in a holistic way, in the conclusion, say what are the solutions. So small and marginal farmers, again, this is very open-ended one. So we know small and marginal farmers, they are present more than 85% in Indian farmers. Then you can give this average land holding size, 1.08 hectares. Then you can give what is the spread of it. So in India, in which states they are present maximum. What is the type of cropping pattern they are adopting? What are the major problems of them? And what are the initiatives government has taken? So these are the major aspects you should be looking for this small and marginal farmers. So crop insurance, again the same thing have been asked for 20 markers, now it is also asked for 10 markers. Here basically what is crop insurance? What is the average coverage of crop insurance in India? what are the challenges for crop insurance, and what are the government schemes and policies. Mainly it is about Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. Apart from that, we have this weather based one which is merged into this what is that Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. Apart from that, we have this coconut and oil palm insurance. So basically like 4 insurance schemes is there as of now. Just mention those things, that is good enough. Right? Basically you should be having like holistic idea first thing. If I take a topic name, see what are the important aspects which is present in this topic. So first you should be knowing that. Second thing is that I can write it in brief and I can write it in large form. So both confidence should be there for you. Clear? So this is when there is no keyword, right? Okay. Next we are going to do this PYQs, right? Okay. So what I will be doing in this section is that, see this is the question. So all this which I am taken, it is from PYQs itself. So let's say I will be giving you like 30 seconds or something. So you just tell me the structure. So this is what I will be doing in the examination hall, if at all the same question is there. Then I will be explaining you like in brief about the concept, and then how introduction could be given, how conclusion could be given, and in the body what are the main parts you should be focusing on. So this is how we will be progressing, right? So this is the 15 markers question. Explain the meaning of carbon sequestration. Give the role of cropping system for improvement of the carbon sequestration. So take like, even online people take like 30 seconds and give me your structure in the comment section so that I can know that you are participating in the classes. And you also take like this 30 seconds and give me the structure. So what is that you are going to follow in the answer. Done? Okay. We'll discuss then. Explain the meaning of carbon sequestration, give the role of cropping system for improving carbon sequestration. Okay. Okay, can you give the structure? You remember the question, right? So basically it was asking like carbon sequestration meaning, then it was asking like cropping pattern role in carbon sequestration. Okay, can you give the structure for this? Yes? Okay, definition. Correct. Then? Okay. Why it is important. Fine. Then?
What are the different, how the different cropping patterns can help in increasing the carbon sequestration.
Okay. Cropping pattern and how it increases carbon sequestration. Fine.
After definition, give some importance of carbon in soil, which how it helps.
Okay, importance of carbon in soil. Fine. Then?
After that, I will give conclusion.
Okay, okay. Conclusion. Okay, online people, you want to give this structure for the answer? Okay. See, this is also fine, but what could be done is like this. See, for example, if I am speaking of carbon sequestration and cropping pattern, basically why this topic or else why this question has come. So that is important because you know carbon emissions from agriculture, you know how much it is emitting. So you know if you take this carbon dioxide, so the emissions from agriculture it is 10%. 10% of the global this thing CO2 emissions. So that is to say, this is one of the significant emitter of this greenhouse gases. Correct. Now, if one of the major role or is major reason why agriculture is emitting this much of carbon dioxide or as methane, it is based on cropping pattern which the farmers are following. So that's why if I do this modifications in the cropping pattern, then I can reduce the carbon emissions. So this is the focus. So same thing can be utilized in the introduction itself. So rather than going for definition, see, definition is also one way. Another way is that because everybody will be doing that, so start with this thing, saying that agriculture is one of the significant emitter of like greenhouse gases, which is contributing somewhere around 10 to 11% of CO2 emissions to the global atmosphere. So considering this, cropping pattern is one of the major reasons. So cropping pattern modifications will lead to the carbon sequestration. So that's why this topic is important. In that way, you can give the introduction. After that, obviously, you can give this definition of carbon sequestration. Because see here, the thing is that see, everybody will be ultimately reading this Anglo material, Tamil Nadu material, or else like whatever the material which is commonly present. So at the end of the day, then how can you differentiate your answer from rest of the people? Right, so that's why. So in introduction, as I told you, you can relate this carbon sequestration plus CO2 or else greenhouse gas emissions from agriculture. So that would be better. So something called as I always say in answers, that is transition. So especially this is important in your essays and also in like answers. So what is this transition is that now you are given this definition and suddenly you will put another subheading saying that cropping pattern and carbon sequestration. So suddenly there is jump like while I am reading. So there is no smooth transition for me. So for that what you can do is that then you can give this definition of carbon sequestration and cropping pattern and establish the relation between them, then go for this role of cropping pattern in carbon sequestration. Now there you can take these examples. For example, you know, rice wheat cropping pattern, which is one of the major type, rice wheat crop rotation or its cropping pattern. So here what is happening, both rice and wheat are water intensive. So if at all they are water intensive, one of the major source of irrigation is borewell irrigation, yes or no? For borewell you need electricity, that is again giving this carbon emissions. So carbon footprint is there. Now this thing C3 plant, C4 plant, you would have heard. So like rice is C3 or C4? It is C3. So rice is C3 plant. So C3 means it is just taking like 3 carbon atoms from the atmosphere to produce photosynthesis. So that is to say less carbon is taken from this plant. In other words, the carbon footprint of this plant is much more. And also if you take rice, it requires like 3000 to 4000 liters of water to produce 1 kg of rice. So all this data if you are providing and saying that this is one type of cropping pattern which is contributing towards this carbon emissions. Now modifications in that. See, same question could be asked in other way. Rather than asking as cropping pattern, they can ask like this. What is the role of crop diversification in reducing the carbon emissions? Same thing again. So modification exactly is crop diversification. So here you can say that rather than cereal plus cereal, if you are going for cereal plus pulse or else even cereal plus fallow, then that would be better. Clear? So this sort of modifications, how it is going to reduce this carbon emissions or else increases this carbon sequestration. So this you have to explain in 4 to 5 points. After that you can go for conclusion. So how can you conclude this? Any idea? Conclusion? So question focus is on carbon sequestration and cropping pattern. And in the answer we have told like what are the modifications you should be doing. Correct. Then for conclusion, what could be done? Any idea? Think of it, it will come. You think, see basically what are the things we discussed? We know the definition of crop sequestration and cropping pattern. We discussed the modifications which we had to do, like for example crop diversification, rice plus pulse, etc., etc. By doing that, what is the advantage we are getting? One is carbon sequestration. Apart from that, fine, can think in a larger perspective. You know, like India is largest importer of the pulses. So by crop diversification with pulses, can we reduce the dependence on like pulse import? Can you write the same thing in the conclusion? You can also say that by crop diversification in this cropping patterns, one advantage is this reduction of carbon emission. But at the same time, we can ensure nutrition security. We can reduce the dependence on import for food grains. That is one way of concluding. Now let's think of another way of conclusion. So one is carbon sequestration and cropping pattern we are discussing. Okay. The ill effects of this green revolution had promoted monocropping or a single type of cropping pattern. Now to achieve this evergreen revolution, so India has to diversify its cropping pattern, and it also is going to reduce this increase this carbon sequestration. That is one. Another way is that, remember this SDGs. In this SDGs and also indices, nationally determined contributions. So India has promised that it will be carbon neutral by 2070. Correct? So these sort of like commitments which India has made, it can be achieved via modification in the cropping pattern. Yes. Now, though the question is like very technical, are we interlinking this current affairs also? Like not just 1, 3 or 4 types of introduction and conclusion we have discussed. So this is the thing which I am trying to emphasize. See, though the subject appears to be very technical, very difficult, but essentially it is not true. It is very, very easy to score, and if you are understanding it, then it is easy. If you are by-hearting the things, believe me, it is going to be tough. Now this is clear? Now we take another question. Yes, again take 30 seconds. Online people, you are not participating. People doesn't value for free things. If I had kept fees for this, then you would have participated. Okay, can you give this structure? So it is about explain in detail ecological productivity. Yes. Ecological productivity. Yes. Okay, okay. Okay, fine. Okay, so for here, like online people, they are saying first you should have to tell this importance. Okay. Ecological productivity. So what is the meaning of productivity? Just in general, what is the meaning of productivity? Output, that is like with respect to the input you are giving, what is the output you are getting? Correct? So that is the meaning of this productivity. Now what is the meaning of ecology or its ecosystem? So basically it is the interaction between abiotic and biotic components, correct? So now apply the both things together, right? So ecological productivity basically means that the interactions between this abiotic and biotic components and what is the amount of like biomass it is generating. So that is what basic concept of this ecological productivity. So here basically we have two types of productivity, right? Primary productivity and secondary productivity, correct? So primary productivity is basically from yeah, in a way correct, but mainly it is from plants. That is, utilizing the sunlight, it is going to produce this biomass. Yes, so that is primary productivity. So in secondary productivity, we are saying this, what is that? The secondary feeders, which will be feeding on this, and the energy will start to move from one trophic to another trophic level. Yes, you know this concept, like how much energy is lost from one trophic to another trophic level? Good. Good. So that is to say 10% is only the energy which is moving from one trophic to another trophic level. So this only 10% is moving means the productivity of that ecology is less, correct? The energy should be moving much further, or else much more energy should be moving from one trophic to another trophic. Yes. So here though it is asking about ecological productivity, at least 50% of the answer has to be on general lines, on like ecology itself, and 50% you can go for this agroecological productivity. And then you can say this, because of this overuse of this chemical inputs, the productivity of this agroecology has reduced. Now it is high time for us to increase the productivity of the agroecosystem, then give the measures for that. Are you getting now? Yes. See, though it appears to be very tough, if you really have this basic knowledge. See, essentially in GS3 also we have this environment portion, yes or no? Environment and ecology. If you are really thorough with that, then these concepts are not at all tough for you, right? And in fact, like at least every year, one question which is from this basics of environment, that is either like ecological productivity or else agrobiodiversity, or else let's say ecology and man. So that is the syllabus which we have, right? So ecology and man, and also like physical, social and environmental factors affecting this crop distribution. So all these things directly or indirectly it is related to this environment topic only. Yes, so that's why, so you here in the answer, like for example for definition, so you can give, see whenever there is this concept based question, it is much better to start with the definition itself, right? So give this definition, ecological productivity, after give this types of productivity as I have explained here, right? And then you can give this agroecology, productivity it is reducing and ways to increase it, and then conclusion. So for concluding this, how can we conclude this ecological productivity? Can you say like the knowledge of ecological productivity, it will help us in enhancing the ecosystem sustainability and sustainable agriculture, or else you can say that the modified or else like ecologically sensitive agricultural practices like organic farming, natural farming, or ZBNF, that is zero budget natural farming. At the heart it lies this ecological productivity concept itself. So better idea, better understanding of ecological productivity will be helpful for us to implement the agricultural practices or else farming systems like organic farming, precision farming, etc. Clear? That is also one way of giving the conclusion. Clear? Okay, next question. Another easy question. Okay, last theme means we want to have food science discussion. Shubhajit Sen Gupta. Yes, that is what you are asking? Good, Raghav, good. Done? So question is on IFS, helpful for different land holding groups. Okay. Yes, can you give the structure for this? No. Okay. You know integrated farming system? Yes. What is integrated farming system?
Integrated farming system is collaborating all the dimensions with poultry, aquaculture, and farming systems together.
Okay, fine. So when did you complete your graduation? You are graduate, right? Not postgraduate. No. When did you complete? Currently you are completing. Completed. Okay. From which university? Ankola. Okay. Okay. Fine. See, here again it is about like concept only, integrated farming system. So better one is to start with this definition. So here let me like clear one of the important thing. So usually in this definition, like as you also mentioned, so people will try to write this integration of different enterprises into one system. Correct? That is correct. But major thing here is that output of one enterprise is becoming input of another. Yes or no? So after this you can give one model, like small model. Now let's say we are going to do this model for this thing, rain-fed agriculture. So integrated farming system model for rain-fed agriculture. Now let's say crop husbandry we have taken, animal husbandry we have taken, and then agroforestry we have taken. Okay. So in rain-fed agriculture, what is the main constraint? Moisture. Yes. So then which sort of crops can be grown there? Example? Which sort of crops which requires less water? That's it. So for example, millets, even pulses, correct, oil seeds. See, in fact, if you take all those things, if you take like millets, 95% of the cultivation of millets is happening in the rain-fed areas only. And then if you take these oil seeds, more than 60% of oil seeds is produced in rain-fed area only. If you take pulses, more than 50% of pulses is produced in rain-fed area only. Are you getting? So that's an easy one to remember. Okay, animal husbandry. Can we go for this poultry? No. So poultry is actually water intensive. You can go for this cattle rearing. We can go for this sheep and goat, but not poultry. Poultry is one of the water intensive industry plus piggery. Piggery and poultry are water intensive. So in rain-fed agriculture that is tough, correct? So this thing, agroforestry, can you give an example? What are the like plant species we can grow? Have you heard this? Acacia? Yes? Have you heard this? Silver oak? Right? Casuarina? So these are the examples you can give. See, what I say or suggest for you people is that at least remember 10 examples of this forestry species. So in the answers, like when you write the answers, you will say that it will help in like groundwater rejuvenation, and also you will say that soil erosion can be arrested, etc. But if you are not giving this example, then it will be a very, very generalistic point, right? So that's why examples are important. Now, what is the output? Okay, what is the output of this crop husbandry? Basically, it is grains. Apart from grains, it is straw. Yes, straw or hay we say. So actually, this is output. For animal husbandry, we need fodder. Yes, can this be used as fodder? Yes. So now, what is the output of this animal husbandry? Of course, milk, etc., meat, etc. But one of the thing is cow dung. Now, this cow dung is input for crop husbandry, correct? Yes, it can also be seen for this forestry also. So you have to highlight this sort of like cyclicity of nutrients and resources. Then by that logic we can say that this system is sustainable, correct? Yes, so this is a basic concept we have to establish here first. After that, how that will be helpful for different land holding groups. So for that different land holding groups, we have this small farmer, marginal farmer, and then we have this big farmer, correct? In medium farmer is also there. Essentially these four categorization is there. So depending on the like land holding capacity, we are saying that. So the beautiful thing of this integrated farming system is that you need not have like acres of land together to practice this integrated farming system. Even with 1 acre of land, you can go for IFS. So that's why when you are explaining this system, let's say for example, you know this small and marginal farmer, we are saying if at all it is less than 2 hectares, correct? So 2 units are there, hectares and acres. So what is the difference? Both are same. 2.5. So actually it is 2.47. So round figure it is 2.5. So 2.5 acres is 1 hectare. So that is to say less than 2 hectares of land, they are called as small and marginal farmers. So there you can give this, see, an integrated farming system taking these different enterprises which is possible for the small and marginal farmers, and how it is increasing this productivity and also like profitability of the farmers that you just mentioned there, then that is the answer for this question. Clear? So for conclusion, how can we conclude this? Conclusion, we are focusing on integrated farming system plus land holding sizes. So one of the easiest way of conclusion is there here, can you guess? That's it. So this will be helpful in doubling farmers' income, correct? And also it will reduce this hunger, poverty, correct? And also it is sustainable and profitable. So these things can be provided here. Clear? Are you getting this hang now? Because essentially the questions are easy, but just by apparent look it will be tough. So if you break down like this, then it will be easy. Now this one. Done. What is tillage? Explain modern concepts of tillage. Give reasons why these methods are gaining popularity at present. Okay. Modern concepts. Why gaining popularity? Okay. Can you give structure for this? Modern concepts. Essentially you know that, but what is that modern concepts you don't know? You know this zero tillage? Zero tillage? No? Okay, fine. So you know definition, right? So basic way for this answer is start from the definition itself, because it is asking what is tillage, correct? So what is tillage? It is mechanical manipulation of the soil to bring the soil to good tilth so that it prepares ideal condition for the seed to germinate. Correct? So that you can give as definition. After that you can give these types of tillages. We have like two types, primary and secondary. Within that again like intercultivation, summer plowing, so those sort of things. After that you explain these things in very brief. After that you give these modern concepts. Modern concepts. Essentially like four main is there. One is, okay, let me start from this. Conservation tillage. Next one is minimum tillage. Next one is zero tillage. Next one is called as stubble mulch tillage. Stubble mulch. See, these are the major like modern concepts where we are trying to like reduce the number of tillages, right? Conservation tillage means we are, see, if you take this traditional tillage practices, we are going for somewhere around 5 to 6 number of tillages. So in this conservation tillage, we are going to conserve as many as possible. Now, for example, instead of this, 6, if you are like going for just 5, then 1 tillage is conserved. So that is the concept of like conservation tillage. In minimum tillage is that you will be practicing this tillage as minimal as possible. Only absolutely if at all it is necessary, then you will be going for this minimum tillage. Then zero tillage, though the name is saying as zero, it doesn't mean that there is no tillage practice. Essentially we are going for tillage, but it will be like extreme form of this minimum tillage. Like absolutely if at all soil is very, very hard or else very, very compact, then only 1 tillage will be done just for sowing. So this sort of practice is called as zero tillage. So stubble mulch tillage, that is to say whatever the stubbles or else whatever the crop residue which is there from the previous crop, along with that you are going for 1 tillage. So what is the advantage? You are removing this old stubble plus you are incorporating that as mulching, correct? So that is called as stubble mulch tillage, right? So these are the modern concepts, just explain them in brief and then you can go for this why it is gaining popularity. So any guess why it is gaining popularity? Cost of cultivation. Okay, that is one way of looking. See, I will tell you like why this main reason why these concepts are gaining popularity. See, for example, have you heard this statement, soil is both source and sink of carbon? Have you heard this? In other words, by reducing the number of tillages, we are reducing the soil disturbance. If you are reducing the soil disturbance, the carbon emitted from the soil to the atmosphere, that is also reduced. So we are reducing the carbon footprint. So that's why it is helpful in tackling the climate change. So that is one of the major reasons why it is gaining popularity. So that is from climate change point of view. See, while writing the answer, gaining popularity, what you can do is that you can categorize the points, like from climate point of view. Next one is economic point of view. Social or else farmer point of view. So from climate, just now I explained. From economics, as you said, cost of cultivation can be reduced, correct? Then human labor can be reduced, correct? So then from farmer point of view, it is going to conserve the time, and also it is going to reduce the wastage of space. If you have observed this tillage, what will happen? The bunds will be created. So that bund itself will take this productive area. So all those things you can say that why it is gaining popularity, right? In a way, why it is gaining popularity, indirectly it is also saying as advantages only. Yes, so this is another trick used by UPSC. So same thing, they will change this vocabulary, and people will think that entirely it is a different question. Essentially it is the same question which is asked in some other way. Clear? This is clear, guys? Next one. Then short notes on shifting cultivation and Tongya system. Okay, and this is from forestry. One is shifting cultivation and another one is Tongya. Right, yesterday also I told you this importance of PYQs. So if you are thorough with this PYQs, you know that like these questions are repeated, correct? Okay, what is shifting cultivation?
Using the land and after achieving an appropriate output from that, leaving that land bare and going for another land.
Okay, okay. So basically shifting cultivation is practiced in this hilly areas, tribal areas. So why it has been controversial is that, see here the forest area would be cleared first. After that, the cultivation of crops will happen, correct? And then when this cropping season is done, they will leave that land and they will go for another patch of forest field. They will clear that and again they will do this cultivation of crops and then again they will be moving in this way, right? But in a way this is also good, correct? If you take this the traditional sense of shifting cultivation, it was in a way good because the gap period or else fallow period, it was at least of 5 to 8 years in the beginning phases when actually the tribal people were doing. Now, what is happening is that in the recent trends of this shifting cultivation, this gap period or else the fallow period, it is reduced to 1 or 2 years. So in ecology you would have heard about this concept, I believe, that is ecological succession. Ecological succession, no? No. So ecological succession is like, for example, you know, once you have like burned this land, cultivated this land, if you are leaving that and you are going, obviously nature will try to regenerate itself, it will try to establish itself. So that regeneration of the forest, again, it will have much more biodiversity. So that is called as ecological succession. So this was happening because mainly we are giving this 5 to 8 period of 8 years of time. Now if you are giving this 1 or 2 years, obviously succession will not happen and then the stress load on this soil, it will increase. So that's why this shifting cultivation is not prescribed as of now and we are trying to like reduce the shifting cultivation. So in order to do that, the new system, the modified version of the shifting cultivation, it is called as Tongya system. So this Tongya system, actually it was originated in this Burma region. So Burma is present day Myanmar. So this originated originally here. So then the Britishers introduced this concept into like India and then now especially in the regions of this northeast, little bit part of this Odisha, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, where this is being practiced. Right, here what is happening is that the forest department, like basically there are 3 types of Tongya. One is village Tongya, community Tongya and forest Tongya. So forest Tongya is the forest department itself is asking the farmers or else like people to clear the, like for example, let's say afforestation has to be done. So now forest department, if they have planted this small saplings, obviously it takes years to grow. Now what forest department is saying is that, and also if you have like seen this forest species, the spacing between 2 plants, it will be of at least 10 meters. That is to say productive space is going waste and management is also increasing the cost. Now for that, what forest department they are doing is that they will give this contract to these people itself. They will say that you can utilize this land for cultivation. Whatever the space is there, you can utilize it. When you are utilizing this land, it is your responsibility that you should take care of these plants which we have planted here. Once that is done, then you can cultivate the crop, you can take the yield and then go off. So that forest species, it will be grown. So same thing then in other parts it will be done. So this is called as modified Tongya, or sorry, modified shifting cultivation called as Tongya system. So in the answer what you can do is that you can give this definitions, you can give this procedures which we have done and also types, that is good enough. So for conclusion what you can do is that you can say that abandoning this shifting cultivation entirely might not be ecologically sensitive. But bringing the modifications like the Tongya system will be helpful for livelihood of tribals and also helps in sustainable development of the tribal hinterlands. So that way you can conclude the answer, right? Okay. Done? Okay. Why is soil biological properties better indicator of soil health than physical chemical properties? See, this is why I always say that fundamentals are important. So this is just taking your fundamental understanding of soil properties, nothing else, correct? You know what is soil biological? Oh, okay, let me ask this. What is soil health? Soil health? Presence of nutrients, okay then. Okay, if I ask you this question, are you healthy as of now? Then what are the parameters you will be considering for yourself? Have you heard this term homeostasis? Homeostasis. No? See, stasis means constant. Homeo is the human's health conditions. Correct. So whatever the condition which is happening in my body, when I say that there is disease means there is disturbance in this homeostasis. So basically my body will be trying to like adjust to the original condition. But if at all the virus, if at all the bacteria which is present in my body, it is not allowing me to go to this fundamental state, then I will be in the disease condition. If I am in the normal condition, then it is called as homeostasis. So here also in soil health concept, what we are saying is that it is basically the soil's regenerative capability or a soil's resilience capability to adjust itself to this original condition, right? But because of like over exploitation of the natural resources or excessive utilization of this chemical fertilizers, etc., the resilience capability or the soil health has been reducing, correct? Now the question is asking that in order to understand the concept of the soil health as such, the biological parameters, let's say for example this thing BOD, that is biological oxygen demand, or COD, chemical oxygen demand, or soil biota, that is flora or fauna. So these parameters are better than relying on physical properties like bulk density, particle density, right, and chemical properties like electrical conductivity, then pH. Rather than that, these are the better parameters. Why? So that is what it is asking. So simplistic, see, for introduction, obviously as I said, you can start with the definition of soil health, and for the transition you can give that is because of excessive utilization of this chemical inputs and also because of this thing intensive agriculture, the soil health has been deteriorating. So because of this, there is need for us to go for soil health management, right? So for that, after that you can give this parameters. So what are the parameters we are considering under this thing, biological properties, under this physical and chemical properties in a tabular form. After that you can you can keep like physical properties in mind or chemical properties in mind and think of the limitations. See, for example, if you are taking this chemical properties, that is pH or it's like EC, it is just giving you one sort of parameter, right? That is presence of H plus ions or else presence of like sodium and calcium ions. So only one parameter will be considered, which will be giving you isolated way of looking at the system. So same thing is true for particle density or bulk density. But if you take the soil flora and fauna, it is a dynamic one. So if at all the overall other parameters is good, then only this will be present in the good way. Correct? For example, earthworms. If at all it is in fertile condition, then only it will be present. So that is to say this is much more dynamic and much more comprehensive. So considering the limitations of that, give the advantages of this biological property and then you can generate the content. Believe me, there is no like even in DKDAS you cannot find this answer. So what I am trying to highlight here is that I have this conceptual clarity. So if you really understand this concept of soil health and this physical parameters and chemical parameters, think of the like limitations and advantages of the same thing, then you can derive the content for this answer. If you are like literally going and googling it down, so then you won't be finding good content for this. Better is understand and generate the answers. Clear? So for conclusion, you can say that this thing, the emphasis on like soil health management has led to the emergence of, which is the scheme? Soil health card, yes or no? It has led to the emergence of soil health card scheme, which has helped in reducing the quantity of fertilizers used in agriculture. So in that way you can give it, right? Or else the spread or else utilization of soil health card has led to the site-specific nutrient management. So that also you can give. And again, site-specific nutrient management. Site-specific nutrient management. Again, this has been one of the PYQ, right? And also this, in a way, we can relate it to precision agriculture, correct? So that's why, see, if you, like yesterday class, if you go and observe, like they will do this thing, like soil science, soil water conservation. They will combine these two subjects together. Or else agronomy plus soil science. Or else agronomy, soil science plus ecology. So this sort of like combinations they are going to do in the answers. For that, the interlinkages, if at all you want to bring the answers, better is fundamental understanding. Clear? Now this, you got it? Okay. We'll take another question. Is it done? Okay. Soil factors affecting greenhouse gas emissions. In fact, if you have look at the syllabus, so same exact line is there in the syllabus itself. So soil, it is also like, as I told you, source and sink of this carbon, and also it is a source and like sink of this greenhouse gases also. So here they are asking like how this or else what are the factors which is contributing soil to be the source of greenhouse gases, right? So what are the factors? Okay, okay.
Black soil is absorbing more heat, so it will evaporate more water vapors, which is a part of greenhouse gas.
Or else you can also say like this. So same thing, like black soil, it absorbs more water, and when there is this drying, it will crack. So when it is cracking, again carbon is released. Plus, when there is excessive absorption of water, anaerobic conditions will be there, methane emissions will happen. So that is one type of soil, correct. Then, for example, tillage. See here, what you can do is that the factors can be categorized into these things. One is anthropogenic factors, one is natural factors. In this anthropogenic factors, one is tillage. So tillage, it is like emitting this carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. And then let's say, for example, application of these fertilizers. And if at all irrigation is not done, then there's volatilization losses, denitrification, and again it is emitting to the atmosphere. That is again one of the things. And next one is like proper irrigation practice, or else like drainage practice. If at all it is not there, then again anaerobic conditions will be there, methane emissions will happen. Choice of crops, cropping pattern followed in a particular patch of soil, that is also important thing. That is anthropogenic. From this natural point of view, as we told this thing, black soil, swelling and cracking. So that is like, it is also called as self-plowed soils because of this property. So that you can give. And then this, what is that, presence of this denitrifying bacteria in the soil. And this, what is it called as, sandy soil, the proportion as this thing, what is that, soil structure and soil texture. So if at all it is more towards this sandy, then water plus nutrients, it will be leached down into the groundwater. right? So these are the factors you can explain for this greenhouse gases.
But if they are leaching or percolating to the groundwater, then how it is contributing to the greenhouse gas?
See, for example, if at all it is going deeper into the soil, then again we have to pump it up, the water, cut, and if at all leaching is happening, you have to compensate via application by artificial fertilizers. Then again it is contributing to the greenhouse gases. Not directly, but indirectly. Clear? Right. So those are the factors we can say. So for conclusion, what you can say? Greenhouse gases and soil we are saying. Conclusion.
Modern technologies like greenhouse,
Okay. Greenhouse gases, I mean greenhouse technology. Then?
and mulching,
Okay, good, good. Then?
changing cropping patterns.
Okay. See, or else you can also say that bringing modification in this mechanical manipulation, that is basically tillage, the conservation tillage, minimum tillage, that is one concept. And second thing you can say this, what is that? Adopting this less water intensive practices like SRI method, systematic rice intensification, or DSR. So this sort of methods, it will reduce the water demand and also reduces this fertilizer demand. So that reduces this carbon emissions from the soil. That also you can mention in the conclusion. Clear? Now we'll do one thing, we'll take this paper 2 questions. Online people, are you understanding this? If we get this, then it is easy for you to do this answer writing practice. Done? See, essentially this is just like content oriented question. So here, see, structure and presentation, it is easy. Basically what you have to do is that it is asking cell cycle and mitosis interface. Okay. So first give this definition of cell cycle, and after that give this S1 stage, S2 stage, like a circular pie chart, right? Photosynthesis, sorry, this thing, what is that? This is S1, S2, growth phase, G1, G2. In this way, you just give this entire cell cycle diagram. After that, when you are explaining this mitosis, give this definition of mitosis. After that, you just give this interface, that is this thing, what is that? Prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase. Just explain those things in brief with diagram representation. That is good enough, right? So this is like straightforward question. Okay. For this, how can you conclude the answer? Okay, let me ask this question. So why should we read this cell cycle? Why should we read this cell cycle then? Why? Because it is in the syllabus. Huh? Apart from that, what is the utilization of reading cell cycle? No use.
Well, in sales cycle, we can come to confidence is what are the requirements that plants need.
Okay. Okay. Then? See, basically, have you heard this term, chromosomal aberrations? No? Okay, fine, fine. But I don't ask. I won't ask you this definition and all. What is it?
What this I have learned in 11th, but in graduation there was COVID.
Acha, yesterday only I told like people. So there is this concept, newly emerging concept called as, so we are this co-ed batch. So for us, it was not done properly.
So whatever I know about 11th, this locus, anaphylaxis locus, mitosis aberration, and the law of inheritance, dominance, codominance, all I know about my 11th and 12th.
Yeah, I understand, I understand. See, basically the knowledge of cell division, if you like understand it properly, see, first thing, if you take any breeding procedure, so first and foremost important of any breeding procedure is creation of variation. So variation, if at all it is happening at the gene level, at the cell level, then that is this thing heritable. If you are doing this mutation, what will happen? It is sudden heritable changes, right? If at all you are doing that suddenly, there is high chances that after some year it will be lost. But if you are doing in this way, like at the cell level, then that will be heritable, correct? That is one. So in chromosomal aberrations, it is mainly happening because of improper cell division. Let's say, for example, you know, there's after anaphase, so this what is that chromosome? It will start to move towards this poles. So when this is happening, so you know this from this metaphase plate will be formed. So from there, when it is moving towards that, so there will be like breakages, or else there will be like disjunction, we say, that is non-proper what is that, disattachment. So because of this, either there will be addition or else deletion. So that is what we are thinking as numerical aberrations. So that you can mention here. So the knowledge of cell division, it will give us clarity of understanding the heritable diseases and the chromosomal aberrations. That is also one way of answer, doing the conclusion. So this is what I wanted to highlight, because people always say this, sir, in this what is that technical subject, especially in the paper 2, we cannot give this conclusion or not. That is not true. Just bring this interlinkages of the concept, then you can arrive at the conclusion. So that's why I told in the first class itself. If you are really thorough with the syllabus lines, the words of each and everything which is in the syllabus, then it will be easy for you to formulate this conclusions and introductions. Because just take those concepts, interlink them, then you will be arriving at the answer. So that is that much easy actually it is there. But students usually they will make it very much complicated. So keep the process simple here, right? Okay, then we'll take another question. Yeah, chromosomal aberrations itself. Done. And again, this is also nothing but like a content oriented question, right? So it is asking enumerate various types of chromosomal aberrations with their types, give detailed account of inversion type of structural aberration. So here like the enumerate, though it is saying as enumeration, it is for 15 marks, right? So here while enumerating itself, make sure that it is in a comprehensive way, because in this chromosomal aberrations, we have both numerical and structural type. So give that classification in a box form and give this title. See, usually what students do is that, let's say for example, if you are doing this classification or else even like map, diagram, etc. So make sure that if you are representing anything, so you have to follow this. etc., like this. So here you have to mention like this, figure number 1, or else if at all it is a map, then map number 1. So this is figure or else diagram showing so and so. So this is what it should be there, right? So this is very important. Since here numerical and this thing, numerical is there, structural is there, under each one give this condition itself. What is this? Chromosomal numbers it will be present. So that itself you have to mention. After that you take this inversion type. So what is happening in inversion? What is the literal meaning of inversion? It is ulta, correct? So that is what, see for example, if at all breakages will happen, if this is a chromosome, and breakages will happen like this, then in the rearranged form, this one will be going here and this one will be coming here. So this sort of like inversing, so it will happen in this nature, and you have to like explain what are the types of inversions which is there, and also this molecular basis or else mechanism, how this inversion is happening. After that, you can give this advantages, disadvantages, or else ways to overcome this inversion. So that will be good enough for this. So for again for this thing, what is that? For conclusion, you can take this linkage for breeding. So the knowledge of this is helpful for creation of variation in the breeding procedures. So that you can give. See, usually for genetics, one way is taking this breeding, or else taking this seed science, or else you combine everything together and you say this thing, how agriculture itself could be progressive. One. Or else, let's say for example, you know, like any recent advances in that particular breeding procedure, or else in that particular, like let's say this thing, a synthesis of this protein itself is there. Now let's say in newspaper you would have read like in some bacteria or else in some organism, new way of like protein synthesis has been discovered. So you just explain the normal procedure. In the conclusion part you can say, now also it is still being discovered and this is the new pathway which has been discovered. So that would be the value addition for you, right? Though it is a technical question, in this way you can do this value addition. Yeah. Okay. Then we'll take this. Okay. Plant protection. Then we'll discuss that. See, in this plant protection as a whole, if you take, so like entomology plus this plant pathology would be there. So there also what you had to do is that first focus on these fundamentals. That is to say, see in UG you would have had this course that is, what is this, ecosystem, that is insect ecosystem, how it will be developed, what is the like conditions for the emergence of this pest attack, etc. that will be there, and classification of pest, pesticides, those things. And in pathology, first thing you have to understand is what are the major pathogens we have, like fungi, bacteria, virus, parasitoid, etc. all those things. So that it should be known. Second thing is the mechanism or else way in which it is like attacking, that is called as pathogenesis, how it is like attacking this plant. That basics if you have, then next part is that the crop specific one. There you need not biot everything. So what you have to do is that, let's say for example, if you take like particular diseases, there will be unique symptoms for that. Let's say target board appearance, or else let's say for example, dead heart. So these are the classical symptoms we will be having. So which sort of pest or else which sort of disease is having this unique, this thing, what is that, appearance or else unique symptom. That one thing you should be knowing. The second thing is that for the major disease and major pest of major crop, you should be knowing IPM and IDM. For example, you know this brown plant hopper, BPH. So that is again one of the major pest So for that, IPM should be known to you. When I say IPM, it has to be like comprehensive. It is not like in generalistic way. Let's say what is the mistake usually students do is that, let's say pheromone trap, it can be used. But they will mention that, okay, pheromone trap can be used for management of the pest. But what they won't be mentioning is that how much of this pheromone trap is needed. So it has to be quantified. So per this much of the pest, one pheromone trap is enough. So in 1 acre, how much it should be used. So that sort of specificity should be there in the recommendations. So same thing is true for IDM. Right? In this way, you have to manage your answers. Clear? Okay. Now the concepts were, which they asked is economic injury level and economic threshold level. So along with this, again we have something called as general equilibrium position, GEP. So these three are the basic concepts from this entomology point of view. So okay, what is this? EAL, economic injury level. Any idea? No, forgotten. Okay. So economic injury level is very simple. See, it is the level at which this management practices, if you are going to do, that will result in neither benefit nor loss. Right? In other words, that is the worst situation where you have to do this pest management 100%. If not, definitely you will be losing your crop. So that is economic injury level. Now economic threshold level. So this threshold level, what is happening is that if you are taking this management practices, so what is the cost you are incurring for this management practices, that will be compensated by the crop you are going to save. Correct? Again, if not, it will be reaching towards this EAL, economic injury level. Or else, in other words, ETL can be understood like this. It is the time during which if you are going for management of the pest, it will result in the maximum returns. Correct? That is one way of understanding. Now what is this GEP, general equilibrium position? So that is to say this is an overtime data. Let's say after like 10 years, if at all I have like crop data and also pest and disease data, then I can plot a graph saying that, okay, in this season when this was the climatic condition, this crop or sorry, this pest was in the maximum period, and this is the measure which I have taken and it has reduced like this. Depending on this, we can plot the like common points. Okay, this stage, obviously this pest is going to come. If I do this management practices at this point, I will be having better like yields. So that is called as GEP, general equilibrium position. So what the question is asking is that how this knowledge is helpful for IPM. Obviously, the population, will be known to you. What is the pest population? Then accordingly, you can decide like what sort of like pest management strategy can go for. Whether it is for cultural, whether it is for like mechanical, or else it is for like chemical or biological. So all these methods, depending on the like nature and also like quantity of pest which is present in the field, we can take the decision. Correct? So for conclusion, you can say that see, this knowledge of EAL, ETL, it will help us in quantifying this IPM for specific crops and for specific pests, which reduces the cost of cultivation and also increases the sustainability of the system. So that way you can conclude the answer. Clear? I know I would be like a little bit fast here because anyway this is just for like just revision for you. So when like actual classes would be there, I'll go very slow. Right? Because there the intention would be to make you understand, and we'll have like many classes. Here within like a brief period, we are just giving like what is the holistic way. Clear? Okay. We'll take this last question. Okay, we'll discuss this. It is procurement and distribution. Problems was the focus, right? Constraints, yeah. Constraints. Okay. So if you have like a brief idea about like GS3 portion of agriculture, which is given there. So we have this system for distribution, correct? So system for distribution is called as PDS, yes, public distribution system. For procurement we have MSP and buffer stock. So combining these three together, we are calling it as agriculture price policy. And again, this is one of the important topic, agriculture price policy from agriculture economics point of view. Clear? But essentially it is also part of this food processing syllabus, because in food processing we have this procurement and distribution mechanism. So here what I have to do is that explain the concept of this MSP and buffer stock, how we are going for procurement of the food grains from the farmers with the help of Food Corporation of India. So that you are going to explain. Then you are going to like give this constraints. If you have heard this committee name, Shanta Kumar committee. So this person he has given recommendation and also have identified what are the problems it is there in this both procurement and distribution. Just give those like constraints, but in the like end part you have to give this what is that, little bit of the solution or else way forward. So that itself would be the conclusion here, right? And also you can see that the efficient procurement and distribution system ensures India to have like food security or else nutrition security. That way also you can conclude the answer, right? But essentially again this is like content oriented question. Clear? Right, so these are the important questions, important PYQs I had taken just to show you like how this answer writing can be practiced, right? And as I told you, like this is my Telegram ID. So and also we are starting our batch like this in classes for agriculture optional from this 15th of September. And yesterday I told you like we have these 3 programs. One is like IRI, YLM and optional classes. In optional classes you will get free of cost those 2 programs also, right? So if you don't have any doubt, then we'll be concluding today. So next 2 classes are essentially important, where I'll be discussing about most important topics for this year's mains, right? In a way that will be like crash course for everyone. So anyone can attend those sessions also, and it will be useful for you, right? Okay, thank you.